Students, today we will discuss this solar energy storage. So we know that solar energy is time dependent. Solar energy is time dependent and intermittent source of energy. Time dependent means it is only available during the daytime, and intermittent means some form of pulses may be available for some specific time period and maybe for the complete day, and it is not available in a constant manner throughout a day. So that's why we are saying that it is a intermittent source of energy, right? So in general, energy needs or demand for a very wide variety of application are also time dependent, right? But we are saying that energy need, that means I'm just talking about some specific application. If for that specific application time is this any of the motor is not required for complete 24/7, right? Any of the motor is not required for 24/7. It may be required for 2 hours, 3 hours, 8 hours, some limited time period, right? So therefore a need of the storage or another such type of devices or such type of arrangement is required, so that we will be able to fulfill all of our demand whenever we need it or whenever we require that. That means sometime what will happen, that some energy will be stored, and that energy may be utilized for another application. Sometime it will happen that we are having more amount of the energy, but requirement is less. And on the other side, sometime it may be like that we are having less amount of the energy available, but demand is more. So we may compensate that stored energy with the help of this energy storage device, right? So storage of a solar energy in a solar system may permit solar energy to be captured when insolation is highest, and then later used when need is greatest, right? So I had already told you that first important point is we are having if whenever we are having more amount of the energy available but demand is less, more amount of the energy is available but demand is less, at that time we may store that electrical energy, right? Then make it possible to deliver electrical load power demand during times when insolation is below normal or non-existent. Storage also makes it possible to deliver short peaks of the power for exceeding the related power capacity of the plant. Sometimes it may happen Sometimes it may happen that we are ordinarily supplying from the hydropower or some thermal power, hydropower or thermal power, but during the peak load hour, that power available or power developed by the hydro plant or by the thermal plant, is not sufficient to deliver or to operate the required load. That means, let us suppose I am talking about some that thermal energy, right? That is capable to deliver 1000 megawatt of the power. 1000 megawatt of the load, right? But demand is let us suppose 1200 megawatt. 1200 megawatt. That means we are having 200 megawatt more is required, right? So 200 megawatt more is required to fulfill the demand. Understand? So this 200 megawatt yes. So in general, we are, I'm saying that we are supplying with the help of thermal energy, or we are supplying with the help of hydropower plant, right? Maximum capacity or maximum capability of the thermal plant is 1000 megawatt and demand is 1200 megawatt. That means there is excess need of the 200 megawatts. That means 200 more megawatts of the supply or electricity is required, right? So this 200 megawatt may be just obtained with the help of non-conventional energy sources. With the help of non-conventional energy sources, right? And in this non-conventional energy sources, major parts are solar energy, right? So that's why if in case there is under the normal condition, we are supplying from the ordinary from conventional types plants, that means from the this thermal plant or hydro plant or nuclear plant, and then during the peak load hours we will be capable to fulfill that need with the help of this non-conventional type plants or with the help of solar energy plant. This is only possible if we are having storage of the energy, right? Because maybe this peak demand may be occurring at the time of night or at the time when there is a cloudy weather, right? So we are not capable to fulfill all that demands 24/7 with the help of solar type. That's why some storage is required, right? Then after that, be located close to the load. These types of plants may be located near to the load. That's why minimizing the need for the costly transmission and distribution facility, which would otherwise be required to meet peak load demand when storage not present there. Right. What I'm saying that, for example, if I'm talking about some specific homes, we are having that solar panel on the roof of that homes. Right. This is why, because otherwise, if these plants will be situated far away, these plants will be situated far away from the load center, then there is a requirement. Then there is a requirement for this transmission and distribution of the system, right, which will make your system more economical, more uneconomical, right. Then after that, improve the reliability of the solar thermal as well as solar electrical system. We need this storage system to improve the reliability of the system, right. Otherwise it is not possible. Already I told you that it is not available for 24/7. It is not available for 24/7. So to remain with the to take this as a reliable system, to take the solar energy as a reliable system, some source of storage are required, right. So optimum capacity of an energy storage depends in journal expected time dependence of the solar radiation availability, then nature of the load to be expected to be processed, then some cost per kilowatt hour of the stored energy, permissible capital cost allocated to storage, right. These are some factors which must be taken into consideration while taking the capacity of energy storage, right. So while taking the capacity of the energy storage, what we are saying that this expected time dependence of the solar radiation availability, nature of the loads to be expected on the process, degree of reliability needed for the process, right. So these are some factors which must be taken into consideration. These are some factors which must be taken into consideration while just selecting some storage devices, or for selecting some device which will be just used to store solar energy and maybe used to deliver that energy whenever we need that energy, right. Very important thing is we will have to make the system economical, right. Because if we will make, by any means, if we will make the system uneconomical, then there is no role, there is no use of the this solar energy storage devices. We will have to maintain such a balance that system will not become uneconomical. System is always required to be this economical. That's why these factors will be taken into consideration, and we will see this solar energy storage devices are applicable there, right. So basically this solar energy storage, this may be divided into 5 categories. One is thermal energy storage, then second is electrical storage, then third is mechanical storage, then chemical storage, and last one is that electromagnetic energy storage. Electromagnetic energy storage, that we were having 5 different types of the solar energy storage system. One is thermal energy storage, second is electrical storage, then this mechanical storage, then chemical storage, then electromagnetic energy storage, right? So thermal energy, that will be of two kinds further. One is sensible heat and second is latent heat. Sensible heat and latent heat, right? Now this sensible heat, this may be further of the two category. One is water storage and second is pebble bed storage. Second is pebble bed storage. So this is regarding the that thermal energy storage system. So first category of this solar energy storage, this will be further divided, classified into two categories: sensible heat and latent heat. Then after that, sensible heat may be classified into two categories: water storage and then pebble bed storage. Now after this, this electrical storage. Electrical storage may be of three kinds. One is inductive storage system, then after this capacitive storage system, and then after that there is a third category, that is a battery storage. There are three kinds of the electrical storage. One is inductive storage system, second is capacitive storage system, and third is battery storage, right? Now this chemical storage is of the two kinds. One is chemical and second is thermochemical. Chemical and thermochemical. So after that, another is mechanical energy storage. Mechanical energy storage is of the three kinds. One is pumped hydroelectric storage, compressed air, and flywheel. Pumped hydroelectric storage. Then second is flywheel, and third is compressed air. These are three kinds of the mechanical storage, right? And at the end, that electromagnetic storage, energy storage is there. So when the process is required, depending upon the requirement, we will be able to store energy with the help of each type of the system. So there for that again in brief that solar energy storage system may be of five kinds. One is thermal energy storage system, second is electrical storage system, third is mechanical storage system, fourth is chemical storage system, and fifth is electromagnetic storage system, electromagnetic energy storage system, right? So thermal energy storage, that will be just divided into the two kinds. One is sensible heat and latent heat, and second is that further this sensible heat may be divided into two categories. One is water storage and second is pebble bed storage. Then after that come to the second kind of energy, solar energy storage, that will be the this electrical storage system. This is of the three kinds. One is inductive storage, capacitive, and battery storage system. Then after that, this mechanical storage, this is of the three kinds. One is pumped hydroelectric storage. Then after that, this compressed air type or flywheel type. Chemical storage, this is of the two kinds. One is chemical, another is thermochemical. Then after that, last category is electromagnetic energy storage, right? So these are the broad classification of the storage, broad classification for the storage of the this solar energy. So first is thermal storage. Energy can be stored by heating, melting, or vaporization of the matter or material, right? And the energy becomes available as a heat when the process is reversed, right? When the process is reversed, it is available into the form of heat. So storage by causing the material to rise in temperature is called sensible heat storage, right? But I am saying that this storage by causing a material to rise in temperature is called sensible heat storage. That means whenever by any means we are just storing that solar energy into the form of heat, and that heat will use to increase the temperature of the body, then that type of the heat is known as sensible heat storage, right? So storage by phase change, the transition from solid to liquid or from liquid to vapor is another mode of thermal storage, that is known as latent heat storage. So there are two types. One is the sensible, second is latent. In case of the sensible, we are just increasing the temperature of the body, and in case of the latent, we are changing the state of the body. That means from liquid to vapor or from solid to liquid, right? Either from solid to liquid or from liquid into the form of vapor. But if in any case we are increasing the temperature, of the body, then that is known as the sensible heat. And if we are changing the state of the body, then it is known as latent heat, right? So this in which no temperature change is involved. In case of this latent heat, state of the body is changed. That means solid is converted into the form of liquid, or liquid is converted into the form of this vapor or some gaseous state, but temperature of the body that will remain same, right? So it is possible for both sensible and latent heat storage to occur in the same material, as when solid is heated, then melted, then raised further in temperature. We are having any of the solid, right? We are increasing its temperature. We are just supplying the heat to that material. We are having any of the material. We are just supplying some heat energy across that material, right? So what will happen? Temperature of the body at the start will be just increasing. So at the starting time, it will be known as sensible heat. At the starting time, it will be known as just sensible heat. But once it will be reached at that condition, after that, if we are continuously supplying it, some heat energy from either from the solar or from any other source of energy, then its state of the physical that will be also changed. If it is in the solid state, it will be first converted into the form of liquid, and if after some time, if again we are just applying that heat, then that liquid will be converted into the form of vapor, right? So same material may occur both of the heats, sensible heat as well as latent heat. So thermal energy storage is essential for both domestic water and space heating application. And for the high temperature storage system needed for thermal power application, storage is also required in the process industries and that horticulture. The choice of the storage material depend on the particular application, and for many domestic application, water or rock storage system have been developed. So come to the point. First is sensible heat storage. So sensible heat storage involve a material that undergoes no change in phase over the temperature, right? No change in phase, no change in phase. That means this will be the state of the system that will remain same. State of the system that will remain same. We are not going to change the state of the system. That means that the material will not be changed from that either solid to liquid or from liquid to gaseous state. State of the system that will remain same in case of sensible heating system. So the basic equation of an energy storage unit operating, that may be Qs is equal to mCp into T1 minus T2. Right? Qs is equal to so for the this sensible heat storage, for this sensible heat storage, basic equation is Qs is equal to mCp into T1 minus T2. T1 minus T2. This is the basic equation for an energy storage unit operating over a finite temperature difference. Right. So here this Qs is the total thermal energy capacity for a cycle operating between the temperature limit T1 and T2. Right. Qs is the total thermal energy capacity. Qs is equal to total thermal energy capacity for a cycle operating between temperature T1 and T2, right? So further, M is the mass in kg. M is the mass of the material in kg. Cp is the specific heat of the medium. Cp is the specific heat for the medium. right? So for the sensible system, this will be given by this equation. Now, the availability to storage heat depends on the product of rho and Cp. Generally, this type of storage are water, rock, iron shot, iron, red iron oxide, or silicon oxide, right? So under this sensible heat storage system, first category is that water storage. So water storage, first category under the sensible heat system, that is the water storage. So here the most common heat exchanger fluid for a solar system is water, and easiest way to store the thermal energy to storing water directly in a well insulated tank. This is nothing. We are having some closed vessel which will be just insulated from the outside. We are providing the heat with the help of solar energy, and the temperature of the water will increase because water tank water tank will be insulated from the outer side, so chances of the heat loss will be less, so that water will remain as a at a high temperature, and whenever we needed, temperature of the water may be used to supply some heat across a device, right? So it is some characteristics for storage medium. It is an inexpensive, readily available, and useful material to store sensible heat. It has a high thermal storage capacity. Pumping cost is small. So these are some of the advantages of the water storage system. Then after that, packed bed exchangers storage. For sensible storage with the air as a energy transport medium mechanism, rock or crushed stone in a bin has the advantage of providing a large cheap heat transfer system. One is this water may be used. Second is if some solid material are available. If some solid material are available, we are just keeping that material for the heat storage system like rock, right? We are increasing the temperature of the rock by supplying some solar energy across that device, and we will just put across that device in a insulated system so that that heat will not be lost in the atmosphere, and that may be stored for a long time, right? So by this way, heat is again stored into some specific solid, and this type of the energy storage system are known as packed bed exchanger storage system. So basically from this part, from this solar energy storage, electrical storage is important for you people, because you belong to this electrical part. So it will be having three category. One is inductive storage, then second is capacitive storage, and third is battery storage. So there are three types of electrical storage of the energy, that inductive storage, capacitive storage, and battery storage. So capacitor could store large amount of the energy as per the relation H. Capacitor is equal to half that V epsilon E square. V epsilon E square, where this V is the volume of the dielectric, epsilon is constant, and E is the electrical field strength. Right? V is the volume of dielectric, epsilon constant, and E is magnitude of electrical field. Similarly, sometimes this inductor may be used for storage of the energy, and in this case that energy will be generally stored into the form of magnetic. In case of inductive energy, we are just storing the energy into the form of magnetic energy. So that will be given by H inductor is equal to half Li square. Half Li square, where L is the self inductance of the coil or of the inductor, and I is the current flowing through that. Now come to the third category, that is the battery storage. Battery is a combination of individual cell. A cell is the elemental combination of material and electrolyte constituting of basic electrochemical energy storer. So in this case, energy efficiency of the battery, that will be given by energy efficiency of battery, that will be given by eta energy, that is equal to integration 0 to T1 I1 E1 dt over integration 0 to T2 I2 E2 dt. So this equation gives you energy efficiency of the battery, where I1 is the battery discharge current, E1 is battery discharge terminal voltage, I1 is battery discharge current, E1 battery discharge terminal voltage. Then dt is the with respect to time, I2 battery charging current, battery charging current, and E2 is battery charging terminal voltage. Battery charging terminal voltage. So if we are aware with these values of I1 E1 and I2 E2, then this energy efficiency of the battery may be calculated, right? So generally there are two special cases for this energy efficiency. In one case, you may consider that E1 as a constant during both the charging and discharging condition. During both the charging and discharging condition. And in second special case, you may take I1 as a current as a constant during both of the charging and discharging condition. So under the special cases, your battery, that energy efficiency of the battery is energy efficiency of the battery, that is E1. I am assuming that E1 and E2 as constant with respect to time, 0 to T1, I1 dt divided by E2, 0 to T2, I2 dt. Then second special case is I am taking current as constant. So in that case, that current may be taken outside. So I1 0 to T1, E1 divided by I2 0 to T2, E2 dt. So these two may be considered as special cases. These two may be considered as the special cases to calculate the energy efficiency of the battery. If in any case these value of the E1 and E2, that means if in any case your value of the voltage will be constant, then you may utilize this relation for calculation of the energy efficiency. And if in any case current in the charging and discharging time, current at the time of charging and discharging will be constant with respect to time, then you may utilize this relation for calculation of the energy efficiency of the battery, right?